As we're nearing the final stretch of this election season, next Monday, the big decision day, advance polling just concluded. We're now dealing with the general election day. Rallies are still continuing. There's still hype. There's still tension. And anytime you see coverage of rallies that go around the country, it kind of gives you a glimpse of the Canadian populace. What are our consensus? What's our decision? What is our thought process going into this election season? And some of it's absolutely hilarious. I there's no way to really put it. Some of it's just absolutely hilarious when you look at just how the mainstream media, how the establishment, their manufactured narrative just dove in and eroded the entire population. And we just have this kind of walking mess of a cult right now, delved right into the mainstream narrative and not really critical about the surroundings around them. And it's stuff like this that I see constantly that makes it so hilarious. So Ryan Gertson put this together, says, "Behold, your average Canadian voter." So Rebel News, despite, their reporting when it comes to the Palestine protest and very much so pro-Israel, I give credit where credit's due, and Rebel News seems to have good credit when it comes to actually interviewing people at these rallies. Unlike a lot of the mainstream media outlets, they just don't want to really get involved in these stories. They just kind of want to steer back and hear whatever they're telling them about these rallies and how important it is to go elbows up. But Rebel News is at least going down to the ground and interviewed a couple people at an elbows up rally, a Mark Carney supporting rally. Believe this is in Ottawa. And one of the people that they interviewed was absolutely just showcasing the common consensus has been diluted to this manufactured dribble that our country has now pretty much wrote itself to. Watch this.
Canada is already great. Elbows up.
I didn't really follow the elbows up. Can you explain?
Not really.
How did you react when he said that he would prefer to deal with a liberal than a...
I mean, that really sums it up perfectly there. Elbows up, elbows up. Well, can you explain what that term actually means? Not really. I just heard it from somewhere, and of course, everybody else is doing it. And if everyone else is doing it, then obviously it's got to be correct, right? Oh my God. This is just a farce. This is literally a joke. This is better comedy than what the CBC could produce on 22 minutes. That's hilarious. We got to watch this again.
Canada is already great. Elbows up.
I didn't really follow the elbows up. Can you explain?
Not really.
How did you react when...
Not really. Not really. Can you explain why you're here? Not really. I just, I thought, I'm doing my patriotic duty. That's what they told me, right? They told me this is for the benefit of the good, right? Like how I was forced and lied into an experimental vaccine. I thought I was doing good for the world. Even the start of that, when they said, Canada's already great, elbows up. I mean, the saying goes, arrogance is truly bliss. And that is what you see there. That is a person in this country that's his head is so stuck in the sand, does not see the obvious clues around him, does not see the obvious crisis on top of crisis in this country, whether it being the homelessness epidemic, whether it being the housing crisis, whether it being the cost of living, inflation, whether it being the overdose situation, fentanyl. There are so many things There are so many things that is going on with this country that is collapsing the greater good of the nation. And this guy is so diluted in his own ignorance that he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Because, of course, if you're just watching mainstream television, they're not reporting this accurately. They're just telling you how great everything is. And, of course, they'll say how great everything is because they're getting subsidized by the government. Hey, you're doing great job. Now give us more money. So our CEOs can, hightail it to Paris and pay for a penthouse. So I'm going to play this in full. We're not going to stop it this time, but I'm going to play this in full just to show you the common consensus of the average uninformed Canadian voter.
Canada's already great. Elbows up.
I didn't really follow the elbows up. Can you explain?
Not really.
How did you react when he said that he would prefer to deal with a liberal than a conservative?
Given how he's been talking before about how he really liked the Conservative government, personally, I think he's lying through his teeth.
Now we're saying elbows up. It means that we're prepared to fight, that you're messing with us, you're messing with Canadians. We're not standing for it. It's our call for unity.
Can I ask you what? No? Which leader do you think it would be the best to deal with Donald Trump?
Based on the ones we've got, I'm going to say Carney.
But Carney also moved the headquarters of Brookfield Asset Management to avoid the tariff before they were even applied.
Yes, and?
Canada's already great.
Come on! Come on! You cannot write better comedy than this. You cannot write better comedy than this. That is hysterical, even at the end. So, yeah. The guy I'm supporting sent our company over to the United States. Come on. Come on. People cannot be this dumb. People cannot be this ignorant, this stupid, on purpose. Like, do you see contradicting yourself? You're at a rally saying you want to fight against America because of this trade war that shouldn't have happened in the first place. It's an absolute farce. And you're supporting this rally, you're supporting this tension, then you're going against Americans, yet the guy you're supporting deliberately went against Canadians' interests and sold you guys out. He took his own company to the United States. God. That is amazing. And of course, this is never going to be published in any of the big newspapers. It's not going to be broadcasted at any of the major outlets. And that's why, even with Rebel News, despite some of their reporting, despite some of their claims, I give them credit for this. I give them the credit for when they went to talk to people at the Freedom Convoy and highlighted how it was a peaceful demonstration, talked to the individuals, showed people exactly what was happening on the streets of Ottawa. And even with this, just talking to general people and just, they're making absolute, they're insane. They're making an embarrassment of themselves. And it's just sad. It's just really, really sad that people, even this guy at the beginning here, when he said that Canada's already great, elbows up. Again, that just shows the arrogance of individuals that have their head so farly larged into the sand that they can't see the obvious dilemmas that are in front of them. Okay? The nation is collapsing. The economy is collapsing. And that is intentional because the Liberal government, much like the rest of the Parliament, is completely corrupted by the globalist agenda decimated to destroy Canada. That is done intentionally. Okay, so if we want to have a real rally to defend the sovereignty of Canada, we need to defend all the aggression that goes against Canada, like the WEF, like the Century Initiative, like Mark Carney himself, the guy who's a central banker that tried to destroy Europe. Wow, that is crazy. And these rallies just get more and more intense. So here's from the National Post here. At a Saskatoon rally, Mark Carney was heckled left and right, quite literally. While Carney struggled to remember where he left off, the crowd chanted his name. So, obviously, Saskatchewan, very big in the farming community. That's one of our big pillars of the economy, much like Alberta with the energy reserves and the natural oil sands. Saskatchewan is very big with our GDP. And considering that the Liberal Party, the Liberal establishment, Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, and all those ministers for many years have decimated farming communities, have decimated farmers. They went aggressively after them for what they consider climate change initiatives. We got to make farming greener. How do we do that? By destroying naturalized farming and sell that off to people like Bill Gates and the Chinese government that are buying up the farmland and mass producing garbage. Because apparently cow farts and chicken shit is too deadly for the planet. It's too deadly for the planet to grow crops, which would actually suck in the carbon and make things greener. So, yeah, understandably that Saskatchewan would be pissed, much like Alberta. So just to read a little bit into this, Liberal leader Mark Carney has grown accustomed to one or two hecklers at every rally, but in Saskatoon on Wednesday evening, they were interrupting him left and right, literally. Carney was busy telling the 800 or so Liberal supporters present at the Modern Art Museum about the story of the famous portrait of former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, when he was interrupted by two young men yelling about Canada becoming the United States' 51st state. The two individuals, teenagers barely of voting age, each wore a suit, a tie, and shiny black shoes. Their heckles were rapidly drowned out by the boos of the crowd, and the two young men were escorted by security outside the venue. We value diversity in this country, unlike the United States of America. What? What? That's such an absurd claim. Again, this is how Mark Carney is gaslighting people intentionally. Just like he says, fentanyl is not a problem here. It's a concern, but it's a crisis in the United States. Everything is coming from the United States, not from us. We did nothing wrong. We're innocent. Oh, man. But of course, that line directly involves the fact that Donald Trump invoked a clause, invoked a national law to ban DEI practices, which is not diverse. It's actually more threatening to diversity. DEI practices go against the true initiatives of being a diverse culture. So he then continues on to say, when he then went back to the story of Churchill, where was I? Moments later, Carney would be interrupted again, this time by pro-Palestinian protesters calling the situation in Gaza a genocide. I heard you, he told them. You made your point. Obviously, he doesn't hear them. It's the, yeah, shut up. Shut up, okay, yeah. You're yelling, screaming things, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. Kumbaya, amazing grace, I'm going to plug my ears. Obviously, he doesn't hear them in the way that someone should be hearing this. While Carney struggled to remember where he left off, the crowd chanted his name. the pro-Palestine protesters, many of them shouted at once, started up again with inaudible heckles. I've come a long way. These people have been waiting a long time, and I'd like to speak, said Carney. A woman attempted to reassure him. You're doing great, sweetie. Was Jill Biden in the crowd? Dr. Jill Biden? You're doing great, honey. You answered all the questions. Yay! This is literally a joke. This is literally a joke. This is like, it makes the Wiggles seem more like a smart Mensa meeting than this. Like, this is absolutely crazy. And people are just buying it up because they're watching the dribble of the mainstream media. They're soaking the manufactured consent. They're being told to, like a good cult follower would do, like a good sheep would do. They're told that anyone outside that bubble, even if they make accurate criticisms against Mark Carney, against the liberal establishment, easily pointing out that the last 10 years, the liberal government deliberately went against Canadians. That literally months ago, the whole nation was so fed up with the liberal establishment that they were desperate to vote in Pierre Poilievre. Now all of a sudden, ho ho, Mark Carney's going to save us. And people drown the noise with this gobbledygook, and they just follow the crowd because they think it's the responsible thing to do. It's the patriotic thing to do. Don't ask questions. Don't do anything meaningful for this country. Just follow with the flow and shut the hell up. That's what it takes to be a good Canadian, apparently, these days. So here's another event. This is Mark Carney when he was in Peterborough, as Government EXE Corrupt is pointing out. Everyone voting for Mark Carney in Peterborough today was chanting elbows up. This confirms my theory that Canada is a blank colony. I mean, it is just amazing that people would fall into this trap once again. You know, we saw that with COVID, and now it's just happening again. And people are okay with this. People are okay with being cultivated into this narrative control. They're okay with this. They're okay with the country being absolutely decimated by the most evil, horrendous people on earth. They're okay with it. They're okay with it because they're comfortable. It doesn't infuriate them. It doesn't challenge them. It doesn't make them think all the time. Oh my God, I might have to read something and challenge the establishment. That doesn't fit well with me. I just want to curl up with a snuggly and watch Grey's Anatomy again. Why can't I just enjoy my ignorant life? So here is in Peterborough at a Mark Carney rally. And look at the crowd there. These are grown adults. I just want to remind people, the average person here is at least over 35. At least. I don't see any young person. I don't even know if this guy in the blue sweater here is. I'm pretty sure it's a grown adult, just judging by his height there. Also, why would you have a picture of Mark Carney? Why would you have a framed picture of Mark Carney? That just seems weird. But here's what happened.
Elbows up! 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 Elbows up!
Oh, God. This is less of a political statement and more of your, drunken aunt trying to start the chicken dance at a wedding. Again, if you ask these people, tell me what elbows up means. Tell me what that statement means. I don't know really how to explain it. But I'm pretty sure I'm doing the right thing because everybody else is doing it. If everyone else is doing that, then God, yes. God bless this country for being in line with the status quo that's deliberately attacking someone like me. Willful ignorance. Yay! That's what patriotism is all about. Good God. This is just insane. Just insane. It's like, again, every time I do these stories, and I do these stories, again, to highlight information like this and the mainstream media is avoiding. Also, in the fact that I'm interested in knowing what's happening in the world, what's happening in this country. I think it's a value of importance to do your research and better institute yourself on critical situations so you know what perspectives, you know what's happening, and you can make a better judgment based on yourself and your family and the rest of the community around you. It's just so boggling to watch this. It's like waking up every day and realizing you're the sane one in a mental asylum that you're trying to escape. That's literally what it feels like. And just watching this crowd, doing elbows up, or in some cases, it's fingers up, depending on which demographic you're talking to. If it's a older retiree that probably cashed in on stocks and has a well enough pension and doesn't give a damn about younger generation, because you losers have to deal with the rest of the world because I'm going to be perishing off soon. They'll just flip you the middle finger. The tolerant liberals will flip you the finger. Let me show this again. This is just sad. This is just sad. These are grown adults. Symbolism, especially when it comes to a slogan. Slogan is pretty much a symbol. And you know what they say about symbols? You leave that to the symbol-minded. But that's an old George Carlin joke. And that's what I see here. These are the symbol-minded. These are people that heard a slogan, thought it was great, ate up the market because they're also pissed off at Trump because, hey, the television also told me to, and went out enchanted in a line to vote for a central banker that's deliberately going to destroy Canada. But no criticism for him. No criticism for him. Everything goes towards Trump. Everything. They don't believe that there's a fentanyl crisis. They don't believe that homelessness is a problem. They don't believe cost of living is something to deal with. They don't believe any of it. They just know Trump is bad. Trump is bad, elbows up. And Ruby Dalla, who was the running in the Liberal leadership, you remember she was second against Mark Carney. And the minute she got momentum, just right before the Liberal leadership debate, they kicked her out. They came up with the false flag narrative and a story published before Ruby Dalla even knew. They falsified a story claiming that she violated ethics laws, violated the laws of an election, and got finances from outsider influence. So they were trying to pin her up. They were trying to diminish her campaign. And Ruby Dalla points this out, saying, proof yet again that the Liberal leadership race was rigged and set up. The establishment knew all along Mark Carney was going to be coordinated. They just wanted to get money for the Liberals' coffers from hardworking Canadians, so they kept the entry fee at $350,000. Still waiting for its return. It's clear. But you see what is not what you get with Mark Carney. Taxpayers deserve better. So all the money that was contributed to Ruby Dalla and her campaign Do you think that went back to the people after they kicked her out of the race? After they falsified his story, so they purposely kick her out? Do you think that went back to the people? No! That money went straight to Mark Carney. They still kept the money. They still kept the money on a technicality because you still put the money in the Liberal Party. You just didn't vote for the candidate you best represented you. So they still kept the money. And it is just such corruption that even the CBC, as Ruby Dell is retweeting here, the CBC even comes clean with the fact that Mark Carney's proposals and his platform originated from Justin Trudeau. That Justin Trudeau's platform is Mark Carney's platform. And those people that are chanting on the street saying elbows up, thinking Mark Carney is the savior, Mark Carney is a continuation of the last 10 years. You know, months before when you were despised by Justin Trudeau, that's still going to continue on. But now people are so blindsided and so ignorant because the mainstream media, because the establishment manufactured consent that elbows up and chanting these rallies and going against Trump is the most patriotic thing to do for this country. But here, as Dr. David Jacobs says, the narrative that Carney is an outsider and change from Trudeau completely fell apart today. The CBC just revealed that Carney's platform was written by Trudeau's team well before Mark Carney took Liberal leadership. So they already had a platform for Mark Carney. They already had policies way beforehand. Way beforehand. And I bet you none of the people at these rallies, none of the people that are voting in line, screaming elbows up, even knew about this. They have no idea because they don't do their own research. These are people that were told during the COVID years that doing your own research and reading was bad. It's right wing. It's anti-Canadian. How dare you read up on things? How dare you critically analyze political parties? How dare you confront the lies? How dare you? Ignorance is truly bliss for them. But here's the CBC. Even they came clean. Listen to this.
You know, the Liberal platform, frankly, that's something I will say that has been ready for several weeks now. Mona Fortier was the one who was working on this, and it was ready before Mark Carney even became Liberal leader. So, you know, he only had to tweak a couple of things. You know, the Liberal platform.
The Liberal platform was already in detail, and Mark Carney just had to tweak a couple things. So, these people that are chanting, these people that are lining up, the people that are giving you the finger and telling you that Pierre Poilievre is awful and we got to have a strong leadership to face Donald Trump. Just note, Mark Carney is not change. Mark Carney is a continuation. Mark Carney is a continuation of Justin Trudeau's reign of terror that's been lasting for over 10 years. The same reign of terror that just months before, everyone was angered. Everyone was frustrated. Everyone was insanely exaggerated on the fact that Justin Trudeau betrayed this country for such a long time. And that everyone was desperate for a way out. And now the tariff war has come in. Now Mark Carney's taking advantage of it and is using it to suck up more people into his clan. That's turning this into a cult. A hilarious cult of ignorant adults that could easily see this a mile away if they bothered to do the research, if they bothered to hold account, and they put down the remote, stop watching CBC, CTV, Global News, and do some little background research and vote accordingly. They would understand that this is not something to be proud of. Mark Carney is not something to be proud of or excited about. Mark Carney is a continuation of a disaster that's been unfolding for quite quite a long time. And people are sick and tired of it. Why do you think younger people are demanding their parents to vote conservative? Why do you think that is? Why do you think younger people are going on to TikTok? They're spreading across social media, demanding their parents to vote conservative. Do they like Pierre Poilievre? Probably not. But they want a way out of this. And Pierre Poilievre, despite his flaws, despite everything about him, maybe people see as an opportunity for things to change. Just like how people came in mass droves to vote for Donald Trump. They didn't like Trump, but they thought it was way hell better than the establishment. They need to throw a wrench in the establishment and shake things up, which is what we need in this country. We need to shake up the system. We need to break apart the status quo, break apart the globalist agenda that has decimated this country for quite an extensive long time, and really save the sovereignty of this country. Save the sovereignty of this country and our working class people. Because with Mark Carney, that's not going to happen. Mark Carney is not interested in saving Canada. Mark Carney is installed on the behest of international bankers, of conglomeracies like the WEF, and NGOs like Century Initiative that want to turn Canada into a mass migration house and increase the population by 100 million people. 100 million people. Do we have the resources for it? No. We don't even have the resources for it now. How do you expect us to incorporate that many people from all around the globe when we can't even sustain ourselves right now? That's what you're getting with someone like Mark Carney. And I'm not telling people how to vote. I'm just saying that do yourself a favor, do a little background research, and vote accordingly.